Let us see what is casting. Casting means sending a packet from one host to another host. Casting is of two types, unicasting and broadcasting. So in unicasting, we send a packet from one host to some another host. This is called unicasting. But in broadcasting, we send a packet to more than one host. Like we broadcast a packet. This is called broadcasting. So coming to unit casting, let's suppose this is a network and this network ID is 20.0.0.0 and there is a host inside it. It is having its IP address like 20.2.3.4. Now, if this host wants to send a packet to other host who is inside this network B, whose network ID is 40.0.0.0. Now there is a host inside this network. If it is has a IP address of 40.10.5.0. Now these both networks belong to class A. As we can see in class A, the range was 1 to 126. For class B, the range was 127 to 191. Class C, the range was 192 to 239. So since the first octet is 20, so it belongs to class A. And in class A, the network ID part is of 8 bits and the rest 24 bits is host ID part. So we can see when we put all the host ID as 00, it becomes the network ID of that network. Here also this network also belongs to class A, and all these things, all these bits, 24 bits, these all bits are marked as 0. So this becomes the network ID of that network. Now, if we want to send a packet from this host to this host, there will be a packet in this host will put its message. Now it will have the source IP address and the destination IP address. So here in source IP address this will be filled, and the destination IP address this will come. Now coming to broadcasting. In broadcasting, we are having two types. The first one is limited broadcasting, and the second one is directed broadcasting. So, in limited broadcasting, a host tries to send message to all other hosts present in the same network. So, if this is the network 20.0.0.0 and there is some host having an IP address of 20.1.2.3, and if it tries to send packet to all other hosts in the same network, this is called limited broadcasting. But the problem here is, since we can see that this network belongs to class A, the number of hosts present in this network will be 2 to the power 24. That is approximately 16 million. So now to send packet to 16 million hosts, this host will need to have 16 million packets, and every packet will go to the every 16 million host. This won't work. It's very difficult to do this, like sending message to 16 million hosts. So to overcome this problem, there is a feature called limited broadcasting, where a host can use this feature and send message to all the other hosts in the same network simultaneously. So what he needs to do, in the message part, the source will put the source host will put its message. After that, he will put its address like 20.1.2.3, and in the destination address part, the host needs to put all ones, that is 255.255.255.255. When we put this number in the destination address, the packet will automatically go to each and every host present in that network. Now let's see what happens in directed broadcasting. The directed broadcasting is little different from limited broadcasting in the sense, in limited broadcasting a host tries to send message to all other hosts in the same network. But in directed broadcasting, if there is a host in a network, suppose 20.0.0.0, he will try to send message to all other hosts present in a different network. So if this is 40.0.0.0, here this host 20.1.2.3 will try to send message to all the other hosts present in this network. That is a different network. But again here we can see that the same problem happens, because here also 2 to the power 24 host will be present in this 40.0.0.0 network. So that is approximately 16 million hosts, and this host cannot send 16 million packets to each and every host. So to overcome this problem, there is a feature called directed broadcasting. Here what the host does, he he puts his message, after that he puts his IP address as the source address, and in the destination address what he does, he puts the network id 40, since 8 bits is only the network id in class A, and after that he fills every other bit as 1. So that is 40.255.255.255. So after doing this, this packet will reach to all the other hosts in that network. Now this is why in last lesson we saw that in the last lecture, that even though class A has 2 to the power 24 IP addresses available, but if we ask how many hosts it can configure, then the answer will be 2 to the power 24 minus 2. Why? Because the first address of any network, like if it is 48, so the first address that is there along with first network ID along with all the zeros, it is assigned for the network ID. Like when we put all zeros in the host ID part, that becomes its network ID. But when we put all ones in the host ID part, that becomes its broadcasting address, directed broadcasting address. So that is why these two IP addresses are reserved for network ID and directed broadcast address. Similarly, in class B, although we have 2 to the power 16 IPs available, but the number of configurable hosts are only 2 to the power 16 minus 2. Yeah, so this is why we subtracted this two number to find out the number of configurable hosts. And for limited broadcast address, this is fixed as 255 all ones, 255.255.255.255. So this is limited broadcast address. So you should remember these things like network id, that will be like the network id part plus all zeros, directed broadcast address, that is like network id by plus all ones, and the limited broadcast address, that is all ones. Okay, so in the next lecture we will see subnetting.